If you watch Love is Blind, we're going to get into the second batch of episodes of season 8. That's episodes 4, 5, and 6. All right, welcome back to Dating Intentionally. I'm Talia, and normally I share no nonsense advice for navigating dating relationships with confidence and ease. But today we're doing something different, and we're going to talk about Love is Blind and what it can teach us about dating, because it could teach us a lot about dating, actually. I did a recap of the first 6 episodes, which I'll link below. We are now recapping the new ones that came out today, Friday. It'll be a couple days when this is posted, but I watched them all this morning and I've actually been really enjoying the season. As always, I want to hear from you, so let me know what your takes are in the comments. Let's get a discussion going. Coconut clearly has thoughts. Okay, let's do it. So I want to break things down by couple, but just an overview of these episodes. In episode 4, we spend a lot of time in Honduras, which after watching the season, like I really want to go to Honduras. It looks beautiful. Then we have our like everyone meets each other party in Honduras. Then in episode 5, we move to the apartments and kind of getting their friends and their family. And episode 6 is very much focused on family, friends, and kind of just meeting everyone in their lives. I'm going to go in order here. We're going to start with Taylor and Daniel because we left off with a very dramatic ending where Taylor confronts Daniel about him potentially following her on Instagram before the season was taping. She basically was like, "You knew what I look like, and I'm freaked out by this." So this episode is ridiculous. Like when I was watching this, I was like, this is how you know they don't have a ton of content to share, because we were watching as Taylor got her phone back. A producer was like, "Hey, like, I'm gonna give you your phone back right now." And then we're literally watching her try to connect to the Wi-Fi. Like, why that was kept in the show, I don't know. But basically, she says that she has an app. I forget what it's called. I never heard of it before, but it's a followers app, and you can see who has followed and unfollowed you. And she scrolls through it to see if Daniel's handle is there. And it wasn't, because he never did that. And it was kind of brutal to watch because clearly she was looking for a way out. At least that's how I interpreted it. Like, I think she was kind of ready to like walk away because she didn't want to stay with him. And then he was completely innocent. But the thing is, like, even if he did follow and unfollow her, I said this in my other recap, it's not a big deal because people follow and unfollow each other all the time, especially since they had mutual friends. Like, I think that isn't that weird. And I think she was just really freaking out. Also, the things in her profile, like the fact that she was a registered nurse, that she likes tacos, all this stuff, not that unique. So basically, Daniel kind of takes out like a champ. They end up reconciling and moving forward. But that was rough. That was a rough opening to this batch of episodes. So when Taylor and Daniel get to Honduras, it's very clear that they're not going to do anything sexual. Taylor says that they thumb wrestled until 2 in the morning, which honestly, like, I think that's really cute. I think Daniel's awesome. Like, after watching this batch of episodes, I really like him. I think he's like a really genuine guy. He seems super family oriented. All he wants to do is get married. He just seems like a solid guy from a solid family. Of course, we don't know everything, like, and there's still time for things to get revealed that would make us not like him, make us turn on him, but I am definitely a fan of Daniel right now. So Taylor and Daniel, they're spending time with each other. Taylor says something like, "No one has ever spoke to me the way that you do." And yeah, like he is just such a catch. He's so nice to her. But something I did notice in their interactions is like she's kind of like trying to turn him into one of her girlfriends. I don't know if you thought this too, but like they're talking about her doing her makeup and getting ready listening to Taylor Swift. And it just was giving like, is she trying to lock him down as her husband or her bestie? I don't know. I just don't see a lot of room in this relationship for Daniel's interest other than Christmas. So when they get to Daniel's house in episode 5, I think, we get to meet Daniel's sister who's legally blind. There's 2 dogs in the house, and one of them is named Castle, which I think is a great dog name. And his family's just really sweet. I mean, they just seem like a very nice, sweet family. His parents are super supportive, which is great. They like trust him. They just kind of were like, yeah, going with the flow, getting to know Taylor. And this is just a nice moment. They even say like, "Welcome to the family." I thought that was very nice. Then they go and meet Taylor's parents, which is a very different experience. Her mom is very stiff. Her dad is a little more open, but you could tell they take marriage so seriously, which, like, okay, like, yeah, like, we're supposed to take marriage seriously. It is pretty serious. It felt very awkward, though, to me watching this. I would love to hear if it felt awkward to you too. And then they also brought in Daniel's parents, and they all got to sit together and talk about how long they've been married. And Taylor's mom says, "We don't do divorce in this family. We don't have divorce in this family." Like, they're like, marriage is forever. They're really laying that pressure on thick. And I really feel for Taylor because I'm like, this girl is not going to say yes at the altar. That amount of pressure. We don't do divorce in this family. Oof, like that. I can't imagine what it's like to date when you have parents like that because things happen. Like, I don't know, that amount of pressure. I feel like she's kind of going to be trapped into this fate of marrying someone, potentially being unhappy, and then feeling like she can't leave because she doesn't want to do her parents wrong. Especially when she said she like goes to her parents for every decision normally in her dating life and rarely ever just relies on her gut. Like, that isn't a recipe for a confident life, in my opinion. I think that it's really important to learn how to, yeah, let your parents weigh in, but ultimately make your own decisions for yourself. So I thought that was kind of alarming, and I don't think they're going to get married. Then there was another sweet moment where Daniel asked Taylor's parents for their blessing, even though they're already engaged, and they were like, "Yes, of course." I think Daniel's so great. I think they at this point really like him. And then at the end, he's like, "Can I give you hugs?" And I thought that was really sweet. So that is where we leave Taylor and Daniel. I'm trying to think if there's anything else I want to comment on with them. I mean, like, when it comes to the group hangout where they all got to meet each other, I don't really think much happened there with them. I mean, there was one moment with Taylor, but we'll get to that. Okay, moving along, let's talk about Virginia and Devin. So when they get to Honduras, one of their first conversations is about Virginia's older than Devin, and this made me roll my eyes. They were talking about music. They do fun dates, like they get massages. They're in the hot tub a lot. Okay, so when Virginia and Devin are in the hot tub, there is this moment where Into You by Ariana Grande comes up, and it's a great song, but I feel like it made the moment way sexier than it actually was. Like, the song did not match the vibe to me. Like, they were kissing, but she wasn't really going for it. Like, I could tell he really wanted to like make out, and she just like wasn't really giving him much. It was a lot of like closed mouth kisses. And that was awkward to me, but I loved the song choice. I just didn't think it was the right fit. So after Honduras, Devin and Virginia move into the apartments. They start talking about money. And I really enjoyed this conversation. I love seeing these money conversations on Love is Blind. I find them fascinating. Sometimes they come up in the pods. Obviously, for some couples, it comes up later in the show. But Virginia brings up that she wants to be a millionaire. And I'm like, girl, like, in this world, we all have to be millionaires if we're going to make it. Like, I don't know if you want to retire at this point. And she talks about how she wants to buy a house. Devin's starting to ask, like, how would we split the mortgage? How would we do that? How would we pay bills together? And I love this productive conversation. And then she brings up that she wants a prenup. And I was so happy that she said this as someone who also has a prenup in her marriage. By the way, I completely forgot that I had a prenup until this moment. Like, I was like, oh, yeah, I got one of those. I have a whole video about the process if you want to watch that. It's linked in the show notes. But I love seeing women bring this up and people bring this up. It's super important. And I'm glad that his reaction was, I think, the typical reaction, kind of like, oh, okay, like, I didn't know this was important to you, but I'm willing to be open to it. And I thought his reaction was like pretty great. Yeah, obviously he wasn't enthusiastic at first, but he wasn't closed off. He didn't seem too alarmed. He understood her logic behind it. And I do think a prenup is a very logical move. He even said, like, I never thought about this. And in my head, I'm like, how do people not think about this? I just don't understand. Then they meet Devin's family. And the way he talks about Virginia, it's like he's trying to convince his parents to like her and his family. I thought his sister and brother were really sweet and definitely better than other siblings on the show. Oh, and I remember watching his mom bring up the fact that she's 33 and they were talking about kids. They were basically treating her like she's over the hill and can't have kids. Like, oh, I hated hearing that. I'm 32 and I'm like, no, 33 is it like you're not geriatric pregnancy at that point. Like, she's fine. But yeah, that was brutal in a way. They also bring up the prenup thing with the family, and Devin was, explaining the prenup to them as well. And then they go outside and meet Devin's parents' pig named Pico. And I thought this was hilarious. There's like this random pig in the backyard, and then Virginia like immediately goes to the bathroom. Like, she is not interested in this pig at all. I just thought that was so funny. These families are so wild, some of them in the show. But yeah, that was where we kind of left things off with Devin and Virginia. We didn't meet anyone from Virginia's side yet. Okay, let's talk about Monica and Joey. So it seems like they had a great time in Honduras. They're getting to know each other more. They're sitting barefoot on the couch. Like Joey talks about his OCD and, I feel like their connection is the most solid of anyone in this season and I really like them together. I really hope that they make it. They talk about chores in the household. They talk about a lot of things, that I think it's really important for people to talk about who live together. And Monica brings up this hilarious concept that my jaw was on the floor of like communal socks. I don't know if you guys, what you think about the communal sock bin, but she basically explains to Joey that her family had a bin full of socks that everyone was allowed to, take from for their sock needs. And that was wild. I Monica seemed bummed that they were not going to have a communal sock bin. But my question is like, does everyone wear the same size socks? Like everyone have the same similar size feet? That makes no sense to me. It was just really funny though. Then we go and meet Monica's family. And as expected for a family who has a sock bin, they're also into other things like having a fam jam, as they called it. And basically they pulled out this like bin of instruments and they're like, okay, everyone take out an instrument, start playing. This would send me out the door. Like, I think it's like really adorable, wholesome thing. I can't even like sing in front of people. I would have just horrible stage fright. And Joey, he just goes along with it. He's so into it. Like, he's the perfect person to take home to a family, I think, especially a family like Monica's who are like a little bit more loud and out there. Monica's sister was not, her name is Nicole, not the best company. She grills Joey. She comes in hot with a question like, why are you single? Which he's not, he's engaged, but why were you single? And I think Joey handled that really well. Then Monica and her sister have a chat aside from everyone. And Nicole was like, I don't think he's right for you. He's not your type. Are you sure? I don't know. Like, I don't know if he's good for you, like all this stuff. And I really it really bummed me out. I think that sometimes when we're dating, people in our lives can really project their own BS onto us and our relationships, and you really need to watch out for this. Like, I just really clocked this as she was projecting her own fears in this moment, and maybe there was a little bit of jealousy because I think that Nicole is the older sister and Monica's now getting married first, so there's that dynamic. And Joey kind of clocks it later in the episode. He's like, I think your sister's just jealous. Monica says that her sister's never approved anyone she's ever dated, and I'm kind of like, okay, maybe that means something. Like maybe your sister isn't the best person to listen to and take it with, a big grain of salt. And I think that rings true for a lot of people. Like if you are dating right now and you're talking to people about your dating life and they're always like negative, take it with a grain of salt because they're probably projecting their own stuff onto your situation and you don't have to listen to that. You get to judge for yourself if it's the right fit for you. So, those were the couples that see everything seems to be going pretty well. Before we get into Sarah and Ben and Lauren and David, this is a very dramatic, this is like the meat of it. I do want to talk about the party they had in Honduras where everyone got to see and meet each other for the first time. So we had all the guys and all the girls, all the couples together. So it was the first time all the girls were seeing all the guys and vice versa. And it seemed really nice. I mean, I wouldn't say there's too much to comment on this other than David pulling everyone aside. David pulled Virginia, Taylor, and I think Monica. And he was just like, so have you had sex yet? And oh my god, David, like he just went there. He finds out that I don't think anyone's had sex. I think Monica kind of was like, "We've done stuff." Yeah, it was just weird. I mean, he obviously was feeling like weird about he and Lauren not having sex yet, even though he was saying that he was happy to wait till she was ready and all this stuff. And I do believe like he was genuinely feeling that way, but I think he wanted to check to see is like, are we all doing it? Are we all not doing it? And I do think he made it weird. I don't think it's like appropriate to just be like, hey, are you having sex yet with your person, with someone you just met and are on the show together? I get it. Like you're all in this experience together, but that would have made me so uncomfortable. The other thing I noticed about David, and I don't know if you saw this too, is that every time he talked about Lauren, he was talking about how she gets up to pee a lot at night and her other sleeping related habits. And kept being like, she's great. But he didn't really say anything positive about her other than that. Like, he only said things like, I haven't found anything negative about her yet, something to that effect. Whereas the other guys on the show and people on the show were like saying how many things they liked about their partner and why they liked being with their partner. David was just like, Well, she gets up to pee a lot, and there's nothing I hate about her yet. Like, my heart breaks for Lauren, honestly. I just want her to ditch David as soon as possible. That's all I really have to say about the party. That was like the main thing that stood out to me. Just really David dominating that whole thing with his constant talk about their sleeping habits and asking everyone if they already had sex. Other than that, it was a pretty tame party. No one seemed to get really drunk. I feel like in the past seasons, like people get really drunk and things happen and it's crazy. I think that will come though in future episodes when the whole cast kind of gets together at the bar. I think that's coming up. Okay, so now I want to talk about Sarah and Ben. So, of all the couples on the show, they seem the most comfortable together, of course, until the very end of this batch of episodes. But they seem like they're really into each other, right? Though we do find out some red flags about Ben along the way, like he only washes his hair every other week, which ugh, gross. Like, I love that he got one compliment from a barber one time and that stuck with him for life. Like, come on, you've got to wash your hair more than that. Like, I think once a week is fine, but once every other week, oof, no. And then he says that he does laundry once a month, but washes his sheets every other week. That's gotta be a lie. Like, if you're washing your sheets every other week, but you're only doing laundry once a month, like, what? I don't know. I just thought that was weird. Let me know what you think about this. Like, maybe you think he's telling the truth. Either way, doing laundry once a month just sounds like, I don't even know. I don't even, how? Like, how? And I really felt like while watching this couple, Ben can do no wrong in Sarah's eyes. Like she's very into him. She's very taken with him. He's being very sweet to her and everything is going well so far. Obviously there is that thing at the end we'll get to, but we get to meet Ben's friends. They seem really excited for him. They seem really into this conversation. They seem into Sarah. And it's nice. It's nice to see them all together. We didn't get to meet any of Sarah's people yet, but we do get to a point in their apartment where they have their phones back. And that is an element of the show that I think is really interesting. Whereas, like, the first couple weeks, they don't have their phones at all. Like in the pods, there's no phones. When they were in Honduras, there's no phones. And then they move into these apartments together and they get their phones back. So we see Sarah looking at her phone. Clearly, she's seen something. And she's like, I saw this girl on TikTok. She's talking about someone on this show in Minneapolis and she's crying. And I think it's about you. And Ben's like, yeah, it is probably about me or something like that. It's like he knows. He probably already knew that this video was out because this video came out in 2024. And basically, he explains that he went out with this girl 4 years ago. They met on Tinder. He ghosted her. The video, which I went back and watched. I found this video on TikTok. I found a few videos of this person who was sharing this story. Based on watching the videos, I personally don't like love listening to people crying on the internet. It's not my favorite kind of video to watch. I usually scroll away from those. I just don't want to watch it. But I would say that this woman who came out and talked about Ben's manipulative F-boy behavior was probably right. I mean, I could see him being an F-boy in previous years. Look, there are other reasons why Ben is not great. Like we learned in the pods that he just kind of doesn't care about really important causes. He didn't vote, things like that. And I hope Sarah doesn't stay with him because I feel like there are a lot of big red flags there and that she's settling in a lot of ways. But like when it comes to his behavior with other women, and I think this is true for a lot of people dating, like how someone behaves 4 or 5 years ago in their dating life might not be reflective of how they behave today. I don't think that we should be judging people based on what they did half a decade ago, especially if you're in your 20s. Like if you're trying to compare someone how they date in their early 20s to how they date in their late 20s or 30s, it can be really different. And I don't think it's always fair to judge people based on that. Though I understand for a show like this, it's like a big deal. It's like, oh my God, like this stuff came out. And the woman in the video was like, I can't believe we're like celebrating men who do this. I don't know if I think that's kind of a stretch. Like, I don't know if anyone's really celebrating Ben or thinking that he's all that great. Even though he is sweet to Sarah, I don't think that he's like amazing or anything. I do think these shows tend to be really over dramatic about people's past dating lives. A lot of people have made mistakes in the past. I mean, I know I have. Like, there are definitely things I did at 23 in my dating life that I definitely wouldn't have done at 29. And I grew out of, and you mature. And it's like, okay, if there was a guy who like came out on TikTok about dating me at 23, it's like, yeah, there's going to be some things said that probably wouldn't sound great, but it's like people grow up. I don't know. So I'm hoping that that's the case. If I'm wishing for the best here, even though I probably know what's going to happen is the worst, which is that this is going to cause Sarah to break up with him because she has doubts and whatever. She's better off without him, I think. So that's all we have for Ben and Sarah for now. I think that they're not going to make it. There's going to be a lot of drama in the next couple episodes, the next batch, and we'll see what happens. But I don't think they're going to make it. Let me know what you think in the comments, by the way. I want to know if you agree or disagree with what I said about this video that came out about Ben's previous dating experiences. Again, I'm not like saying he's like an amazing person or anything, but I just want to point out that people do grow up. So we'll see. Let me know what you think. All right. The last couple we have to talk about, my favorite couple to talk about is David and Lauren. In Honduras, their main focus is that they're not having sex. Lauren on the first day says that she just got her legs waxed, and the waxing person said no sex, which I'm like, because I get my legs waxed once a month and I've never heard that, but okay, like, okay, girl, like that's fine. They definitely didn't have sex the whole time they were in Honduras. Lauren had a lot of really cute swimsuits, and David made a really unsavory comment about her braided hair. He was giving her compliments to her, like he was saying things that he liked about her. And he's like, but not the hair. And it's like, dude, you were on a roll. You were actually saying some nice things. Like, why did you have to just throw that on top? And it was kind of such a neg. And it's just, I would have just pushed him over the edge of that boat. And David has brought this up a few times, that he brought it up on one of their dates in Honduras. He said, I've been really picky about physical stuff in the past. And I wrote down, David needs therapy, not a love is blind experiment to fix his visual pickiness. Like, this is not the answer, my guy. And something I noticed when they were talking about David's previous dating patterns is like there was something about the way he was talking about his previous dating habits, like he's going to be dating again. And obviously, I think we all know this couple is not going to make it, but it kind of confirmed that he fully plans on getting back out there. I don't know if you noticed that as well, but I just could tell there was like a moment in Honduras when he was talking about how he approaches dating, where it just fully seemed like he knew he would be dating again. Meanwhile, Lauren's saying things like, I haven't been this attached to anyone. Like, ugh. And it just kind of goes to show that you can get emotionally attached to people who treat you like crap and are horrible for you. And my heart goes out to Lauren. I really hope that she is far away from this man at this point. David kept bringing up, there's nothing I hate about you yet. It's like, well, why don't you just talk about what you like? That threw me a little bit. The main drama of David and Lauren, though, in this chunk of episodes was the fact that Lauren had gone out with someone and maybe had like a casual hookup situation with someone a few months before they taped. And when they got their phones back, it was clear that this person was hitting her up, or she didn't really properly end that before she left for the show, or something to that effect. But David is stuck on this because his friends like know this guy that Lauren hooked up with. And he is convinced, and his friends convinced him that Lauren was with him like the night before they taped the show. And he has an issue with this because he's like, how could you be seriously interested in marriage if you are hooking up with someone like a month or 2 months before? And that's just such BS to me. Like, you can be in a casual hookup situationship with someone and still be ready for marriage. You can have a friends with benefit situation and still want to get married one day and be on the lookout for that. It's okay. Like, is it the strategy I recommend? No, but it's totally feasible that she met someone who wasn't relationship material, but she wanted to hook up with him. That's fine. Also, David, like, that is such a double standard for someone who he like portrays himself as a ladies' man. He's kind of a womanizer. He was even dating two people in the pods, and he's giving Lauren so much crap about talking to a guy before she even knew it was confirmed she was going to be on the show, which I think is very reasonable. With these reality TV shows, I don't think you know if you're going to be on the show. It's a very long process. So of course you're going to date. I don't know if he's jealous of her, the fact that she was hooking up with someone and he like hasn't been in a relationship in 4 years. He wasn't hooking up with people. Like, I don't know what his deal was, but like, it was brutal to watch this. Throughout these episodes, they keep fighting about this. They keep coming back to this. It's clearly a huge wedge between them. And it's really David's fault. Like, David needs to choose to trust his partner. Like, if you're going to be in a long-term relationship, you've got to trust your partner if there's no real evidence. Like, he doesn't have any real evidence that she's lying. Also, why would she lie? He has no reason to not trust her other than the fact that he's only known her for 2 weeks, I guess, and his friends are saying something different. But I don't know. We didn't see this, but it's like, I feel like she would have the receipts. Like, they have their phone back. So I don't know why she's not like showing him the text and it's like, see, look, here's what happened. Like, here's when we were talking. I don't know if they did that. But yeah, so this really took over their whole storyline in these episodes. Even when they met Lauren's friends for a spin class, which David, like, oh my God, I've never seen a man so beat red like that, he got so red. They were trying every which way to kind of convince David that Lauren was not lying, that Lauren was just, she was chatting with someone, but they weren't dating. They weren't in a relationship. They weren't having sleepovers. They weren't meeting friends. Like they were just casually hooking up. That was it. And David just isn't having it. And it's so brutal because Lauren's sitting there crying. They're talking about her like she's not even in the room. And I feel like after that, I would have just broken up with him. I mean, there are so many moments where she could have broken up with him, but like that's one where that's humiliating in front of her friends. And this is someone who just refuses to take his partner's side and just choose to trust her in this moment. I don't think she's lying. She has no reason to. Really don't think she's lying. The other issue, the other drama with David and Lauren in this chunk of episodes is David's sister. I'm sensing a lot of enmeshment in David's family with his sister. It's all about his sister and what his sister will approve of and like what she likes. And he's really scared to introduce them. And it's this whole thing. And that's a red flag to me. Like, I don't really get his relationship with his sister. It didn't seem to come up too much in the pods until later. I don't really understand like why his sister matters so much. Like, I have a brother. We talk about his dating life, but I'm not concerned about who he'll choose. I trust him. I don't know. It's just really weird. Also, I'm wondering, it's like, hasn't she seen the show? Hasn't she even watched the show that her brother was on if she cares so much about him? Like, she knows how it works, right? I guess we will meet her eventually or not in the show. And something I really noticed about David is that he really cares about approval of others, like his friends. Like, it gets so bad with this whole thing about Lauren's hookup and everything that they're about to meet David's friends. Like, they're inviting his friends over for appetizers or drinks or something. And they end up having this fight before, and they end up canceling the friend hang, and Lauren's like, go hang out with your friends. And really broke my heart. Like, David is not ready for a relationship. He's not ready to communicate. He's not able to communicate properly. And poor Lauren is just really doing her best. I even wrote down like David just seems to have this huge issue with like the timing of Lauren's hookups and how long the hookup lasted. It really made me wonder, it's like, does David want someone who's a virgin? Like, what does he expect? Also, like, he was just in an experience where he was dating multiple women who were also dating multiple men. Like, what is this deal with him? It's so strange. It's like clearly he wants to have sex. He brings it up so much. He makes the whole party situation about sex. And then I feel like he doesn't want to take that step with her at this point because she hooked up with someone right before, a couple months before they started this whole taping thing. So I don't know. And the thing is about this whole dynamic is that David needs to figure this out for himself. Lauren can't force him to trust her. She can't fix him. She can't fix it within him. This is a David issue that he needs to tackle on his own. I'm really sad that Lauren said she cried for an hour before falling asleep the previous night. And I would tell her if she was listening, like, your person is not going to make you cry before you go to sleep. Your person isn't going to make you feel so disconnected that you're going to cry and that you're not going to be able to repair with them. That is not your guy. So then, of course, David goes out to be with his friends. He's avoidant. He needs space, which, okay, fair. But like, this is not a good sign. This is not going to end well. They are definitely not going to get married. At least I hope they don't get married. So those are all the couples. We just recapped all of them. And then we had the preview where we're going to see next week when there's more episodes, we're going to see like everyone coming back together. And by the time the sixth episode ended, I completely forgot about the other cast members. I'm like, oh yeah, we're going to see all these other people that we saw in the pods. I'm pretty excited for that. I also want to note that in the preview, we do see a bunch of couples at the altar. So I think we are going to see like in previous seasons, sometimes there are like one or two couples that make it to the altar. I think like we're going to see most of them make it to the altar. I just don't think they're all going to say yes. My bet is that Monica and Joey are the only ones to say yes from this season. So we'll see if I'm right. So that's it for me. I'm really excited to continue recapping the show. I'll probably be delayed in my next recap because I'm traveling next weekend, but I'm loving the show. I would love to hear your comments. I would love to hear your takes. So comment below and hit subscribe for more dating advice, and I'll see you next time.